Hey guys, Kooshy. Got another episode for you of PS4 Shmups coming at you right now. So I'm going to cheat a little bit here, and this one is actually Dariusburst CS on the PS Vita, but it's on the PS4 as well. Dariusburst CS for the PS4, you can get it via physical or download on the PS4 or on the Vita. I only have the PS Vita version, so that's the gameplay footage that you're going to see here today. As far as difficulty level goes, it has 3 different options: easy, medium, and hard. For alternate gameplay options, you've got a few here. AC mode, which is another Chronicle, has 3 modes underneath it: original, Chronicle, and an original EX. And then CS mode is your basic storyline. On the PS4 version, you can actually play 1 to 4 players couch co-op. On the PS Vita version, you only can play single player. If you enjoy shooting evil space fish, this is your game. As you play through the levels, you get different upgrades: red, green, and blue, each of which applies to a different area. Red being your normal shot, blue being the laser, and green being your bombs. The action is fast in this game, but it's not hectic or harried. The soundtrack is very operatic, and it gives weight to your gameplay. The controls are nice and responsive, and there's really no problem controlling your ship. Don't forget, you can turn around as well while you're playing. It's a great shoot 'em up that I do enjoy. I think it would be more fun as a multiplayer game, but again, I only have the Vita version, so I can't show this to you. I would definitely recommend this if anybody's into the genre and doesn't have this one. The next game I want to talk about is Blue Rider. Blue Rider is available physically on the PS4 and is a download on the PS4, the Xbox One, the Nintendo Switch, and on Windows. There are no alternate gameplays with this game, but it is a twin-stick shooter, so both your thumbs are going to get in on the action. The gameplay is meant for a single player only as well. The game is definitely bright and colorful, and it has a cartoony look to it. You can definitely take your time with this game. You can move more quickly through the level, and it builds up your rampage meter, but I didn't notice any gameplay change as that happens. I couldn't tell you what it does in the slightest. As you play through the levels, you're going to get weapon upgrades, which either increase the number of shots or it increases the damage of the shots themselves. It's not a one-hit kill, thankfully, but there are health drops occasionally throughout the level in case you do get hit. You can definitely take your time with this as well, and the only time you're really under pressure is when you're fighting bosses. It's a good game, but there's no options for anything. The difficulty is set, and off you go. That's it. Once you have beaten a level, if you do die, you can go back to that next level. You do not need to start back at the beginning, very beginning. You can see the gameplay and judge for yourself. The next game we're going to talk about is Sine Mora EX. Sine Mora has 2 different levels, normal and challenging as far as difficulty goes. It's available physically on the PS4, the Nintendo Switch, and the Xbox One. As far as a download option, it's all over the place. You can get it on the PS4, the Switch, Xbox One, PS3, Xbox 360, the PS Vita, as well as Windows. There's a couple different options for alternate gameplay. You've got the normal story mode, but then you also have an arcade mode which has 2 difficulty settings, challenging and hard. You also have score attack, boss training, and versus mode, which I didn't get into. You do have a multiplayer option with this one. You've got 2-player couch co-op, both in normal and challenging, and a 2-player versus, which sounds interesting. The thing about this game is it's got a time slow mechanic, so if you are having issues with a boss, you can slow down time. As you go through the game, you can upgrade your weapon, but if you get hit, all those upgrades go flying off of you, and you have to go and retrieve them in order to get the upgrades back. The game's storyline really tries to be dramatic, like overly dramatic. They talk about a lot of very dark stuff here, and I feel bad for saying this. I didn't really follow the story. I pretty much mashed the button to get through it. The 3D graphics of the ship and all the backgrounds are beautiful. The majority of the game is all flying, however there are some sections where you do go underwater. It's a decent shmup. It's not for kids because of the subject matter and some of the storyline, but I would definitely recommend getting this one. The next game I want to talk about is Battle Garegga. This one's a little bit different. It's an arcade port, and Your difficulty levels are super easy, premium, and arcade. To get this game physically, you are looking at either a PS4 option or a Sega Saturn. To download, you have an option of PS4 or the Xbox One. The game also has a 2-player co-op option, which sounds like fun. I would consider this a regular shooter game. It's not a bullet hell. It's an update from a port of the Sega Saturn game. It's a fun vertical retro shoot 'em up, and the pacing of the game keeps it moving along very nicely. The soundtrack isn't anything special to write home about, but it has a decent beat to it. One of the things about the game is when you first play it, you will die, and you will not be able to continue. After that, the game will give you an additional credit. Now you can continue once. And if you die again, now it'll give you an additional credit and you can die twice. So on and so forth. The parallax scrolling as you're flying over the world is done beautifully. The upgrade system is fun as you fly through the levels. You can actually get up to 4 little wingmen, and they just kind of fly near you and help dish out damage. There's a ton of little details that you can see as you're watching, but playing this, they do kind of get glossed over just because you're trying to keep track of so much. There's just nothing that hooked me on this game that kept me playing. It's fun, don't get me wrong, but I can think of other shoot 'em ups that I would rather play. Now we're going to talk about Astebreed. So in Astebreed, the difficulty levels are easy to normal. You can find this physically on the PS4, or you can download it on the PS4, Nintendo Switch, or on Windows. It's just a regular shoot 'em up, and it's single player only. It's very fast paced. The game is constantly in motion. The perspective changes as you're going through the levels. So at one point, it's an on-rail shooter. At another point, it's a vertical shooter. At another point, it's a horizontal shooter. It's nice because it definitely keeps you engaged. The only thing I have a problem with is when you're in the on-rail mode, seeing things flying at you can get a little difficult. The voiceovers are not in English. However, it does do subtitles for you. Good luck reading those because during the gameplay, you can't read subtitles because you're trying to dodge everything. The controls are very responsive, and I don't think you would have any problem getting into the gameplay. You do also have a sword as you are flying through space, so you can attack enemies that get close to you, and it does do a little bit more damage. Regarding the difficulty selection, I think if you beat the game on normal, a hard option appears, but I haven't done that yet. If someone has, please add a comment below and let everybody know. The next one we're going to talk about is Airheart. So you can find this as a physical on the PS4 only, but as a digital you can download it on the PS4, the Switch, or the Xbox One. This is a single player only twin stick shooter game. It has cheat codes. I looked for them. Initially, I couldn't find them, but they are in there if you can find them online. The controls are okay. You're just got to remember you're in a twin stick shooter. As you go along through the game, you're upgrading your craft or the planes you own. As you fly around, you're collecting fish and you're shooting pirates to destroy them and collect their parts. There's also some floating islands that may have some bits to pick up here and there. Collecting the fish and selling them happens automatically, so all you have to do is fly over the fish, and then when you get back to town, it automatically sells them for you. It's a colorful and bright twin stick shooter. However, it's a bit on the slow side, and I actually found that the controls for aiming were a little bit difficult. Now that might be revised as you get better weapons, I'm not sure. It just seems like a depressing game. Like, you look at this screen and this doesn't scream, I want to play. Your character's just kind of mopey. The soundtrack, while you're not in flight, carries the same heavy weight and downtrodden, sullen beats. I couldn't get into this game. It didn't resonate with me, it didn't hook me, nothing. Now we're going to talk about Hyper Sentinel. Hyper Sentinel has 3 different difficulties: retro, normal, and hard. You can find this physically on the PS4 or via download on the PS4, the Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch. There are a couple different alternate gameplay modes. You've got arcade, survival, and a boss rush mode, and it's just a normal shoot 'em up. It's a very retro shoot 'em up style. The music is grating. I muted it halfway through. I'd play it for you, but I want you to continue watching this video. It's fast-paced and it definitely shoves you right into the action. As you're flying, it's hard to determine what you can or can't fly over, so you're gonna run into a bunch of stuff. I'm sure that's just a matter of level memorization. You're only flying above another ship that you're trying to destroy. Once you've destroyed enough of the bits, a boss will appear and you have to destroy them as well. I just wasn't that into this game. I didn't feel pulled back to an earlier retro time. The super retro, almost 5200 level graphics are okay. I just wasn't into it. The sound effects are retro as well. It's just jacked up to like 11 and wasn't for me. If you're looking for a really retro game, then this might be right up your alley. I hope you enjoy it. I did try playing it for about a half hour to try and get it understood, but I have zero buy-in for it. Now we're going to talk about 80K Damashii. The game on here we're going to be discussing is Twinkle Star Sprites, but there are 4 other games on here that you can play and get into. The game difficulty goes from 1 to 8 stars, arcade mode being right in the middle at 4. You can get this via download or physical for the PS4, or you can get it physically on the PS2, but it is region locked to Japan. You're playing against a computer or the person next to you, and as you score combos, they slide over to the opponent's screen and mess with them. If you do that enough, they get knocked out, and then you can win the round. So you can adjust the number of rounds you want to play as well. So that's done in the settings menu. That I could thankfully read. It's fun. The concept of a versus shoot 'em up is kind of interesting. I couldn't get into it. The whole not being able to read the storyline, at least through the single player mode, I couldn't get into it. Maybe playing against somebody else, it might be a good time, maybe a good drinking game. Next game we're going to talk about is Ikaruga. Ikaruga, you can get this as a download on the PS4, the Switch, the Xbox One, Windows, or physically on the GameCube or Dreamcast. You have 3 different difficulty levels, easy, medium, and hard, but under the settings you can also limit the number of lives and bombs you have, so you can crank it all the way up to 10. There is a 2-player couch co-op mode. I couldn't even get out of the easy mode on this game. Actually, I couldn't even get out of the 3rd level. It's just brutal hard for me. There's something about this game that just doesn't click in my brain, and I couldn't get through it. The mechanic with the game is you can switch between light and dark. If you are in the light side, none of the light bullets will damage you. If you're in the dark side, none of the dark bullets will damage you. The game can be rage-inducing at times, but I think part of this is also just being able to play the game and do it repetitively enough to memorize when and where to be on the light or the dark side. I also have a feeling that the developers wanted this to be a very dramatic game, judging by the storyline, and there it goes. It's not my favorite shoot 'em up by far. I can think of a few other ones that I would much rather play than this one, but it is fun. So the next game I want to talk about is called Fast Striker. This is one of my favorite shoot 'em ups on the PS4. You have 4 different difficulty levels: Novice, Original, Maniac, and Omaki. You can find it physically on the PS4, the PS Vita, the Dreamcast, and the Neo Geo. You can also download it on the PS4 or the PS Vita. There are no alternate game options. You get in, you shoot stuff, and you're going to be doing it solo. There is no multiplayer in this game. It's a fast 3D pixel vertical shoot 'em up. I know that's a lot. For normal mode, holding down the fire button will continuously shoot, but it's also converts it to a focused fire versus a spread fire when you just tap on the button repeatedly. So get your thumb ready for a good workout. On easy mode, if you just hold down the button, it will still do the spread shot. But when you get hit, instead of dying, one of your shields will go away. Also, on any of the modes, if you hold down the fire button, you will move more slowly. So get that thumb button ready. When you use your shields, it does two things. One, you're invincible and you don't take any damage. Two, you fly very quickly, so be ready for it. When you're playing, normally you shoot in front of you, but you can shoot behind you as well, and in some instances you are going to need that. It has a good soundtrack and definitely keeps things moving. Obviously I can't play it here, and there's no gimmick here to speak of. It's just a straight, good old-fashioned shoot 'em up with pixely graphics. Now I'd like to talk about Stardust Galaxy Warrior Stellar Climax. There are so many different options for difficulty on this game, it's not even funny. It goes from a Sunday stroll to Cadet, Normal, Fighting Ace, Legendary Pilot, Iron Man, Bullet Blitz, Lord of Power-Ups, Glass Cannon, Hurt Me Plenty, and Melee Mayhem. Some of those just kind of tweak the gameplay mechanic a little bit. You can get this physically on the PS4 or digitally on the PS4, the Switch, or the Xbox One. It does have alternate gameplay options. Regular campaign, a gauntlet mode, which is endless, a strike mode, which is endless with upgrades, and then a challenge mode, which has predetermined goals for the given levels. One of the other cool things about the game is you can play up to 4 players couch co-op on this, so bring some friends if you want. It's a side-scrolling game, but it does it well, and there's multiple ways to kill the bad guys. The action moves pretty quickly and wasn't ever beyond reach as far as skill level goes. The story was fun and entertaining, but it was never in your face or overly dramatic. After each stage, you get a chance to upgrade various things. Faster regenerating shields, defense upgrades, increased critical damage, increased attack damage, and a few others. It doesn't take itself too seriously. The mid-level boss on the first stage is a giant asteroid. As you're going through the levels, you will also pick up temporary power-ups that definitely help you through by either blooping out green fart balls or picking a target and focusing on them until they're destroyed. You do get to choose your mech as well as the weapon and sub-weapons you want, so you can definitely change up the gameplay mechanics a little bit here. The 3D backgrounds scroll beautifully as you're flying through the levels. It is a very fun shoot 'em up, and I would recommend this one. Alright guys, that's 11 more shoot 'em ups for you. I hope you've thoroughly enjoyed the video. Like if you have, subscribe if you want to see regular content like this. Also, give me some feedback. Do you like the length of discussions or notes that I'm giving, or do you want to hear more about it? Do you want me to shut up and just show you gameplay? Leave the comments in below. Hope you have a good one.